as I was walking over here this morning, I heard the hum of machines. And I thought, I never would have ever thought that I would have loved to hear the hum of machines. And, you know, it's because they're building our new monastic residence. But it made me think how at some times in your life, there's certain things that you look at and it's like, oh, how disgusting, you know, like the sound of machinery. You know. And other times, the same exact thing, you look at it and you say, how nice, I'm so glad to hear that. You know. And this could happen for something that we see, something that we eat, you know, something that we think about, any of our sense objects. You know, one time in our life, and another time in our life, you know, and it made me think, I mean, this is just going to show how things are empty of true existence, you know, and that happiness and suffering, good and bad, desirable, undesirable, they don't exist inherently in the object, you know, but the desirability of something exists as a dependent arising depending on the entire circumstance. Because if we weren't building a monastic residence and it was the middle of retreat time and I heard the sound of machinery here, I would not go, oh, thank goodness. You know, I would have a totally different response. So, you know, the pleasantness or unpleasantness, good or bad, you know, desirability, undesirability, happiness, suffering, completely dependent on the situation, isn't it? You know, it doesn't exist inherently in that object. And so this is something quite powerful to really think about again and again and again in our lives. Because especially when we get attached to something, it seems like that thing is desirable from its own side. You know, but to remember that it's not, because all you do is tweak the situation a little bit and the thing is not desirable at all. And similarly, you know, a certain person or hearing certain words or whatever might be undesirable at another time. You change the situation and it becomes desirable. Yeah. I saw that a lot when I was living in India, because, you know, there might be certain people that you don't get along with very well, but when you're traveling together, you get along very well with them, because you really need each other. You know, you need each other to watch the luggage and to do all sorts of things. Yeah, and so the whole relationship completely changes from what it was before. And so things are like that, you know, they aren't concrete and solid. They exist embedded within a whole environment, and then they appear desirable or undesirable in dependence upon that whole dependent arising, not just from that object. Yeah. And of course, how we view the whole dependent arising is so dependent on our mind, you know. Because I could have easily heard the sound of the machinery, and if I were in a bad mood, say, oh God, why do these machines have to make so much noise? Can't they build the monastic residence in silence? You know? So even that depends, you know, whether I like the sound or not depends on my mood, doesn't it? Yeah? So nothing is there from its own side.